Yo, what's good YouTube fam? It's your boy Joe Fit Johnson, back at it again, bringing y'all some fire content. All right, so if you're watching this video, it's because you wanna know how to build an aesthetic physique. And this can be at home, this can be at the gym, this can be an apartment gym, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna be talking about the foundations of what it takes and what it looks like to build an aesthetic physique. I'm gonna be highlighting a lot of the common mistakes myself and many others make when it comes to this journey of building an aesthetic physique. Now, when I say aesthetic, everybody can achieve an aesthetic physique. Whether you're endomorph, ectomorph, whatever it may be, it doesn't mean you're the biggest guy, it doesn't mean that you're the most shredded guy, because everybody's body type is different. But it's gonna be about what looks the best on you and how to create a body that is aesthetic to the eye. Now, when we think about aesthetic physiques, a lot of times it's gonna have that V shape, right? That Dorito shape. And what it takes to build that type of physique is gonna be wide shoulders, big chest, traps, and a narrow torso. Now, not everybody is tall, not everybody has a naturally narrow torso. So what a lot of bodybuilders do, and I'm not saying that you have to be a bodybuilder to have an aesthetic physique. You don't have to be super huge. Whether you're a girl, guy, older man, younger man, you can still build an aesthetic physique for your body type. But what it's about is constructing a body that plays with the eye to maximize proportions, right? So shoulders are gonna be important, right? Having a filled out chest, the upper chest, the middle chest, the lower chest is important, right? Having traps is important. Working the neck is important. But not only that, working the legs, the quads, the calves, having a body that is well proportioned and balanced. Also being lean. Think about your favorite movie stars, superheroes, etc. Yes, you can have muscle mass, you can be an endomorph or an ectomorph, but you gotta get lean. Now, I'm not saying you gotta be bodybuilder lean, but being lean in terms of not carrying a pouch, not having man boobs, and being able to see some type of visible abs. But in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinion, staying pretty lean is gonna give you the best aesthetic. There's a couple of ways you can go about building an aesthetic physique. You've got phases of bulking and then cutting, right? So bulking means you're gonna be putting your body into a surplus so that you can put on your muscle mass, and then you go into a cut to cut off your body fat, right? So that's an effective way where you can put on size, build out a foundation, and then lean out. The second way is gonna be a lean bulk. Now, depending on what your body type is and what your experience is like when it comes to bodybuilding is how I would recommend going about whether bulking or lean bulking, right? Because a lot of people get stuck in the bulk, meaning they go into a bulk and they don't know how to cut. So the only way I'd recommend you go into a bulk is if you absolutely know how to cut. Second way I'd advise you to go into a bulk is if you are already lean, right? So if you have a muscular foundation or even a skinny foundation, but like you can see your abs, you're pretty vascular, you're pretty lean, you can go into an aggressive bulk because it's gonna be easier for you to cut that body fat off. Versus if you're already carrying body fat, whether you're, you know what I mean, kind of swole, chunky vibes, or carrying some, some belly fat or man boobs, I wouldn't recommend you go into an aggressive bulk. Even if you want to put on muscle mass, I would say you go into a lean bulk or just totally cut until you can see your abs. And then once you can see your abs and you're lean, then you can start lean bulking. So in terms of macros is something that you absolutely need to understand when it comes to bodybuilding and building an aesthetic physique. 90% of people, at least 80 maybe, don't know about macros, don't understand macros in terms of protein, carbs, and fats, and how changing up the proportions of your protein, your carbs, and your fats, as well as your overall calories, affect the way that your body is building. Whether you're putting on mass, whether you're cutting body fat, calorie surplus, calorie deficit, etc. Macros, in my opinion, in my experience, the experts that I know, macros are more important than calories. So you need to understand your macros to understand what type of body you're building. So with that being said, a lean bulk is still gonna be high protein, right? Whether you're doing a dirty bulk or a lean bulk, you're always gonna be focused on high protein. A lean bulk is gonna be comprised of whole foods. So you're gonna eat clean while being in that calorie surplus. And you're not gonna be as aggressive with your calorie surplus. So for a dirty bulk, you may go an extra 500,000 calories, right? And you're eating pretty much whatever. With the lean bulk, you can increase 300 to 500 calories and just be consistent with it, right? Over months, even years. Be consistently in a surplus, eating extra carbs and fats and protein from whole foods. So you're still eating clean and you're still progressively overloading. Yeah, I think that this is one of the best ways to build an aesthetic physique. Just lean bulk and just be consistent, eating whole foods, getting your complex carbs in, going high protein, training, really making it a lifestyle and just staying lean year round and just consistently year after year getting leaner and bigger. That's what a lot of guys that you guys may inspire to look like have done. A lot of people do bulks and bulks and cuts as well, because the bulk honestly adds and really makes the foundation of what your frame is gonna look like, right? So that initial bulk, like my initial bulk, I'm pretty much like the same size, I'm just way more cut now, right? And if I wanted to get even bigger, like have a bigger frame on me, I would get into an aggressive bulk, to be honest, because that bulk is going to be that foundation of what the cut is going to be, essentially. You feel me? So if I wanted to put on size, like in my body right now, if I wanted to put on size aggressively, I would go into a really aggressive bulk and just like put on massive size and then go into a cut, and I would get bigger faster, right? But where I'm at in my journey, I'm not really focused on getting big. I'm more focused on performance, aesthetics, martial arts, and yeah, just taking it steady, right? Just building muscle, cutting body fat, enjoying the process, increasing mobility, increasing performance. I do go into seasons where I go into a more aggressive eating approach. So I go into, you know, some bulks and things like that, but it's not a dirty bulk like I used to, because another thing is like gut health. I'm very big on, you know, gut health and just taking care of my body in a different way. And I know that dirty bulking isn't the best for your gut health. But if you're a beginner and you're honestly coming from eating fast food, or even you're just not that health conscious when it comes to gut health and, you know, dairy intake and just processed foods or pesticide and things like that, bro, just get your foundation right, do your dirty bulk, and then you can detox, cut, and take care of your gut health. But yeah, that's kind of my recommendation, because there's levels to it. You feel me? Like bodybuilding technically isn't the best for your gut health, but it does work for putting on muscle mass and building an aesthetic physique. And then you can, you know what I'm saying, build that foundation, build that frame, and really get into your gut health and your detoxing and your fasting and things like that. But that's a topic for another conversation. Next thing I talk about is your training split. So understanding everybody has their strong suits genetically, right? Some guys naturally have a big chest, right? Where their chest grows very fast. Some guys naturally have big shoulders. Some guys are naturally quad dominant, like their quads can absolutely blow up. So you also need to, as you go through your journey, know what parts of your body your genetics are strong in, and what parts of your body your genetics aren't strong in. And there's two things that I would say to that. I would say capitalize on where your genetics are strong. So if you have strong genetic shoulders, like go crazy, like fucking have amazing shoulders, right? But also know that your shoulders are naturally big, right? So you don't want to have a little chest and huge shoulders because you're going to look funny. So then you need to make sure that you're putting more volume into your chest to make sure that it stays proportionate, right? Same thing with your back. You don't want to have a big old chest, underdeveloped lats, or underdeveloped traps, right? Because then you start to look funny. Same thing with legs. And this is a big mistake that a lot of people make, is skipping leg day. No matter where you're at in your journey, especially if you're starting off and you're bulking, if you go through a bulk and you're not fucking smashing your legs, that's gonna be one of the greatest mistakes you ever make, because you're gonna be so bad built where your legs are gonna look like chicken nuggets, bro. Like that ass. But regardless of where you are in your journey, especially if you're not somebody who, like, if you're tall, if you don't grow legs easy, like, bro, don't skip your legs. Good quads are a staple to an aesthetic physique, and also glutes. Like, yeah, you gotta have some glutes. You know what I'm saying? You don't want your pants to be fucking sagging off you, right? Also, don't skip like your forearms, right? Don't skip your calves, right? Don't skip your traps. Don't skip your accessory muscles, even your neck, right? So if you find that you're building your upper body really nicely, but your neck is really like, that's something that I'm actually working on a little bit more these days, is like neck. You feel me? Pause. With all that being said, I hope that this was helpful, at least at a foundational standpoint. I hope you learned something new. Again, if you're not too familiar with your body type, the best thing that you can do is literally get in the gym. Just at a practical standpoint, start understanding your protein intake in terms of your macros. Hit at least 150 to 200 grams of protein, and then you can play with your carbs, right? You can go high carbs, or I would say moderate carbs, and then go low carbs. Free game. You can use ChatGPT to figure out your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure, and you can also use ChatGPT to figure out your macros, kind of talk to it, and get some advice. Now, that's not going to be the end all be all to your solution. It's an evolution, it's a journey. What is important as well is that you get around some like-minded people, whether that be in person, whether that be online. Our community is currently open and free to the public, so I'd recommend joining. You will be able to get a free comprehensive fitness audit, as well as get access to our macros course that goes over how to calculate your macros, a macro-based meal plan to help help you actually hit your protein goals, as well as just understanding the overall foundation of macros, as well as how many calories you eat. It sounds confusing, but it's not that confusing, I swear. But yeah, if you have questions, just drop them down in the comments. Again, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this was valuable. Yeah.